Alrighty. Good afternoon again. I've got some important kind of everything has moved. Give me a second. There. Some important things to state. I just watched Jari Wise's mum in Tasmania, who's been trying to get justice for her son. That, in my viewing, it appears that he was ruthlessly brought down by his girlfriend in a car and murdered. And I guess based on my treatment by my ex-partner and like all the whether it's the police, my mother, my sister, anyone basically, I have some findings on this phenomenon that I want to speak about. But first off, I also want to say, and I'm saying this now because my current girlfriend is at her birthday lunch with her family. And I will just say I've been trying to organise myself leaving for probably about 3 months, and that this individual has done everything in her power to dissociate from that concept and has put me in a very difficult situation because my next step from this is basically to leave the country. There is a absolute nightmare situation going on with women in Australia, perhaps women in the world, and I have some ideas about why that might be. I don't feel violently, whatever, but I didn't feel that to do with my children's mother either. But I absolutely do not like this phenomenon of this dissociation, putting it off, especially because the conditions that I'm here in. Like I was basically landed here after being ran out of my town at gunpoint by the West Australian Police on the directions of my mother, who is a mentally ill woman. And then I've had no contact from any of those individuals. I've been documenting this the whole time. Basically, that's like a complete failure of society. The things that I'm bringing to light are absolutely atrocious. And basically throughout all of it, so in that, it's like I'm saying that I'm trying to leave. It's on good terms, except, basically any of these things becomes impossible, and none of it. It's like an arranged marriage cross with the fucking Hunger Games, basically, is what I feel like. And I'm done. I'm leaving the country. I'm going to spend the rest of my life at war with Australia and the Australian government, basically until they admit that they've completely fucked up our entire society. You know what I mean? Legally. I'm going to legally work on behalf of the United Kingdom, and I'm going to bring Australia to its knees. I'm going to work with people around the world to do this, because you're basically created an absolutely disgusting fucking Squid Games, domestic violence, fucking super fucking continent. And it is fucking disgusting. And no one knows how to operate in it. And the reason for this is because it is driven on word of mouth. There are assumptions being made, and that are being passed around like pass the parcel, like cultural artifacts, like cultural certainty, just hearsay and gossip about what happens when you get divorced, when you get separated, when you have children, what all these things. And it basically amounts to, there is a call from the collective women, the collective consciousness of women in Australia, that is absolutely supported, that is absolutely celebrated, to basically, celebrate you dispatching your ex-husband. There is not a shadow. This is it. And it goes from top to bottom. It goes from like long-term, high finance, high public figures, all the way down to like basically teen romances, and it's completely insane. You've basically taken our patriarchal system, our system of traditions to do with this area, which wasn't, it wasn't perfect, but my assumption is there was reasons that there was certain phenomena within that, and you've replaced it with an all-out Hunger Games war, in which basically, like, if you're a woman with children or something, you're just advised to basically commit manslaughter, and everyone watches you, and it comes down to another phenomenon that men. So if these are police officers that are men that interacted with a woman, how would I describe this next phenomenon? It's basically, it's to do with like statistical, like bias towards a particularly prevalent advice. Okay. And what I would call it like downstream advice collectivization. So basically, like, these are passed like from person to person. Oh yeah, you should do that. You should do this. You should get, and it builds, right? Because each person, so this is like, I'm going to draw here the gendered archetype of a woman in distress, right? So she has a sad face, okay? Whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're an authority figure or just a random person, there is a spectrum of advice or just chit-chat, just hearsay, right? That is going to resonate with a more positive experience. This woman in distress is distressed enough to leave or has been left in a relationship, right? So there's a little bit of a pile-on period where this might be known, and then there's a collection of advice that's hung up on her, like she's a Christmas tree for the collective, man-hating universe, or the collective, like, kind of opportunist male universe that might directly be trying to win favor with the young lady, or might just be in the habit of doing this out of politeness. Who knows? It doesn't matter. But at the end of this period, this woman has been hung with all of these ornaments, these cultural artifacts of and again, usually the man isn't known, right? And even if the man is known, it's like there is a far less chance of pushback, even if that involves her giving you a dirty look, whatever it is, to provide that woman with the cultural artifact that it is her job and it is actually her duty to completely eviscerate her ex-partner with whatever it takes, but not for particularly any reason. The complexity of male-female dynamics, father-mother dynamics are really large. Like, men cover a certain area. They cover a certain landscape. Now, strangely, this landscape is the exact landscape that has been trespassed upon by these tech companies, by global corporations, by corrupt governments, by whoever, by invasion of damaging ideologies, right? And then that just makes it worse. Then it becomes easier. Then these things become more prevalent, unless, of course, we can identify that this is, of course, going on. And then we can go, well, perhaps it's time for an entire country to have a conversation about how it's wrong for women to kill their husbands or try to kill their husbands, or for women to do any of the behavior that has been completely normalized and celebrated by our culture for far too long, because we find ourselves in the exact conditions that one would have assumed we would land in if this continued on. So basically, women provide this thing for children, right, that benefits the government's claim that they are providing a safe and functional society for you. Because if women aren't able to do these things, then obviously, that means that puts the government into disrepute. It means what? The society isn't safe and functional enough for women to raise children on their own. So they have to help each other constantly. But the men each one of those fathers is in direct competition with a corrupt government, because the corrupt government's job is to basically destroy the innate defenses that the men are trying to provide for a manner of different threats, right? And that insinuates corruption. So the fact that we're already here actually delegitimizes the entire period, because there is a big chunk of thing. And it's like, is there a common trend of disgruntled fathers in this country? Yes. On what lines? Cultural degradation, over-sexualization, fiscal irresponsibility and fiscal corruption, media, trespassing into closely held traditions, cultural, whatever. Yes, all of those things. Why? Well, because that's what it does. Right? And then every opposition is individualized. Right? So we're collectively assaulted as Australian fathers, but then we are always presented with the individual argument. This is exactly what was done to witches when you stuck them in a fucking thing and said, do they burn or not? That's exactly what you're doing, because each man is individualized. And what's actually worse is like all the collective advice given to those women, right? If she tries to enact that revenge, that's an assault on the man. And then the man is focused, right? So this is like every relationship breakdown in the country has turned into two gladiators in a fucking coliseum. There's police, armed police in the stands. There's armed judges in the stand. There's armed politicians eating popcorn in the stands. There's the collective media. And there is absolutely no one that is going to break that down. And that's why we have people getting killed, whether they're men or whether they're women. You have turned what was traditionally a culturally held archetype of marriage and then kind of culturally reinforced, right? And that's where, like, where did all that go? All the information, all the hearsay, all the gossip would have been to get those two people back together. That we've spent thousands of years there. That was the imperative. You should get back together. You should get back together. That became absolutely cultural taboo in the smallest amount of time. It's a complete inversion, right? And in my case, there was both. It's almost like there was advice to do that, and then they have to pick a side, and obviously the side is biased because it's directed towards actually creating an event where the partner is going to retaliate. And most men won't stick their head in front of a camera and talk for 5 years. I would have thought it wouldn't have taken this long. The fact it's taken this long, right? This is now the precedent of what men are required to do to explain themselves to Australia when they feel like they are being culturally identified with, and they're being ganged up on by very, very large and powerful entities in this country, and all focused through the person that quite possibly has the most selectively curated outrage and murderous hate towards that exact person. It's a spectacle. And every single member of this entire society is guilty of it. You have turned the most vulnerable situation that two people can probably be in into a spectacle, into a public spectacle. And you're all sitting in the fucking stands eating popcorn. And it's fucking absolutely atrocious. Right, before you think about putting the blood of these victims on the hands of Australian men, let's see who's in the fucking stand eating popcorn. Let's see who's got the fucking beach ball in the fucking crowd, pushing the fucking beach ball, pushing this new novelty fucking divorce beach ball around, watching from the stands into the Coliseum as fathers and mothers are forced to battle it out for the love of their fucking children, while their children are just fucking basically raped by technology. What a fucking disgusting fucking mess. First off, I think basically everyone without children should be politely told to get the fuck out of the fucking discussion. Get the fuck out of the fucking arena. You've got no fucking clue. Anyone that's gone in and attempted to micromanage these situations with guns on their fucking holsters, you should all be fucking fined hundreds of thousands of dollars so that you never do it again. What the hell do you think you're doing? You're not fucking marriage counselors. No one is. Like all of these things, it's like people got along just fine when there was loaded shotguns in the corner of the fucking houses and all these things. It's like, who brought the guns to the argument between my children's mother and father? Because I sure as hell didn't. You know what I mean? I brought conversation. And what was brought to me was guns. Guns after gun after gun after gun after gun after gun. I would say, collectively, at least 50 guns. And this is how we used to talk about things. This is how, in Australian history, if you rolled up with Ned Kelly and 50 guns, I'd be talking about that. I'd say Ned Kelly and his gang rocked up with 50 guns, right, to deal with some type of hold-up, a bank robbery or something like that. This is 50 guns were used to steal an Australian man's children. Those children have now been exposed to the concept that 50 guns can take whatever they want off an Australian father. This is the way that this conversation is going to be had from now until infinity, between all the nations that are responsible for all of it, between the Republic of Ireland, between Northern Ireland, between Australia, and between the UK, between England. The English police don't even have guns. Right, so despite their failings in recent social media and stuff like that, I don't know whether this happens in England. I don't know whether a disgruntled ex-partner can elicit the mercenary force of 50 guns to execute her will while she slurps down fucking Smirnoff. You know, I just don't know if that's the thing. Now, listen, if we're at the moment in Australia where we go, yep, his ex-girlfriend, his ex-wife, his children's mum, she's Ned Kelly fucking 2.0. Give her a fucking parade and then put her in fucking rehab. That's it. Right? So then we can get to work in cutting all the strings of this hearsay. Right? Because then you're an accessory. If you've given advice to a woman, whether you're a lawyer, a policeman, or a friend, or a fucking colleague, or whatever it is, that you should go after a man in this country, you'd sure as hell better fucking understand the entire situation, which nobody does, right? Because I'm in the fucking situation and I don't understand it. So why would anyone give advice like this? And what's it based on? Is it based on some type of salary fucking figure? Some type of, newly created wage system with taxes and benefits and overtime and all this shit? Or is it based on cultural and responsible stewardship, including security and like, all these things, stability, religion? What's it based on? Nobody fucking knows. But as I said, there is an unbelievably large bias towards just offering women just fleeting advice because you're only interacting with that woman on one occasion, but she's constantly interacting. She's gathering those little bits of advice like a big bouquet of flowers that she's going to stick on her fucking ex-husband's grave. Right, this is not the fucking divorce fucking utopia that was promised to the last generation. And in my particular case, I was never married. I didn't get married because I was almost certain that marriage would end in divorce, which basically that's what marriage is supposed to do. You're not supposed to get married if you think that the marriage is going to end in divorce. But the children were already there. So we were living together as parents, as dual parents that were never married, right? Forced to live underneath the house of this earlier today exposed digital complete fucking whitewashing and hijacking of our entire culture, right? Forced to just make do with the fucking breadcrumbs falling through the floorboards anyway. Right, so again, it's like that's also a huge reason for all these tension. But I'm here to say it's like That's a very different thing. I've spoken to women that literally think, they literally declare it, oh, how irresponsible to have children. Why didn't you get an abortion? Why didn't you get, why did think? In my particular case, contraception was being used. It just didn't work, you know? So there's that. But then it's like, why didn't you get an abortion? It's like, that's not fucking any of your business, really, you know? By bringing that to the fucking argument, which basically every young woman, I could go through Perth or Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne or wherever and say, you know, map out a generic kind of argument. And if the answer is like, you should get an abortion, it's like, so you're saying you should kill a child. You should kill a baby. Just rolls off the fucking tongue, right? And then it's like, just behind that argument is you are irresponsible unless you kill a baby, right? So imagine that's the environment that I'm forced to live in by not killing a baby in Australia, circa 2007. I'm irresponsible for not killing a baby. Right? That's the world that the previous generations made for me. So what did I chose to be irresponsible by not killing a baby. So am I surprised when the status quo of this country, you know, 18 years later, is that, well, every woman is irresponsible unless they bring the ultimate demise of the person that fucking inseminated them with their devil spawn and then force them to irresponsibly raise those children under these conditions. What type of fucking self-serving, ideological fucking volcano fucking worshipping bullshit is that by the collective Australia? You know, if you're a politician in this country and you're speaking about these things to young people and you're bypassing an entire generation that's been swept aside just like that, that's been censored and fucking completely ignored, that you've already forced to run your little experiment that has some interesting findings, and you're bolstering and enraging and invigorating a young population of naive morons into this next generation claiming that having a baby and not killing a baby is irresponsible. You should have killed that baby. You know what I mean? Just under the surface of these political arguments right now is genocide. You know, it's perhaps you could say, well, it was contraception, it wasn't genocide, it was this good thing. But my example makes it genocide, doesn't it? And you're still rattling the fucking tins. You're still fucking genociding. And then I'm forced to make preemptive statements to the fact that I've been trying to leave this place for 3 months. And the person is in a dissociated mental state where, because she is in charge of this situation, because she was basically handed me by the police, she's using all of those dissociative things to keep me confined here. You know, it's civil. It's not bad, but it's not fucking legal. When you connect all of these dots together, it's a collective fucking movement of people that are fucking absolutely insane. And in this particular house, it revolves around the responsible Aryan fucking unicorn child that was raised by 2 responsible fucking DJ fucking drug addicts. You know what I mean? And then responsibly did this thing. It's like, no, that's not the truth at all. That is absolutely not the truth. This is a fucking dystopian fucking nightmare where everyone is required to ignore what goes on every day in order to maintain glorious fucking whatever. Dissociative fucking disconnect. Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. Like, I can almost think it's like I should make a fucking tea bag that just says cognitive dissonance and just stick it in her wardrobe, in her pantry there. That's what you've created. It's absolutely ridiculously insane Because I would actually consider, if this individual was brought down off the pedestal to which she was handed sniper rifles by the West Australian Police, by my mother, by her husband, by her friends and family and co-workers, by the fucking status quo of feminist Australia, if I could go down, I'd say, we were the two hardest working people that we fucking know, and they've put us at odds together so that they can bring in these fucking Nazis to basically do this shit on top of us. Why don't we just kill them all or expose them all? You know what I mean? Perhaps kill them all might just be because she's already in that heightened genocidal murdering fucking capacity. Maybe that's the language that might get through to her. Maybe we should expose all of this. Maybe we should say, this is ridiculous. This all derives on genocide. This is exactly lockstep with the fucking eugenics Nazi bullshit. And all my children have got blue eyes anyway. You know what I mean? It's literally the one child fucking policy manifesting in Australia via basically what is illegal immigration. You're not allowed to immigrate here to try and fucking enslave fucking people. You know, is there a dating app that's like recently released from prison? And it's like, I've already fucking heard about this shit. These are selective fucking shit. I know what they are. It's like all of these individuals are betting on the fact that I'm fucked up. But it's like, I'm talking about the most basic things. Right? All that's required is a whiteboard marker, a piece of paper, and a webcam. And like, I'm not using technology to explain myself. I'm explaining myself with common sense. The most baseline common sense. The fact that this artificial collection of lunatics are able to keep linked up to each other and like keep fucking like, it's like they're skydiving in fucking formation down the volcano. And I'm just floating up past them. I'm like, this is stupid. This is insane. You'd all be locked up. But I know that's not the fact. They shouldn't all be locked up. It's like this system is about to smash into a wall. We are going to find all the evidence. I'm going to find out that every desktop computer that was handed out, remember them being sold, the little desktop with the printer and the fucking two speakers, all that shit? That was sold to harvest from you the vital data that they use to basically build the next iteration of the world. It's market manipulation. Coming from, illegal surveillance and from market manipulation based on the surveillance. And then they realized as well they could put a little carrot in front of you, or they could stick a little dangly fucking little bit of fucking tinsel that you'd chase. Then they got us all chasing tinsel, right? And even that's like, I've caught them, and then I'm like, that would be bad enough. But then it's like, look where you made us go with that tinsel, you fuckwits. Look what you've done to us all. You could have taken us anywhere, and you could have even made that profitable for yourselves and taken us anywhere. But you didn't. You displayed absolute fucking ridiculous levels of disgusting fucking confidence because of where we actually are. Because underneath every man, no matter whether they're a fucking, sweater-wearing computer nerd or not, there's an instinct when people have enemies that they try and fuck their wives or they try and fuck their daughters. That's what they did. They did that the first go. They did it in digital fucking thing. They did it in humiliation around the fucking world, and that's because there's no denying it, because that's where we live. I can't imagine what would have happened if an 18-year-old girl when I was growing up, decided to start fucking filming herself, fucking herself with a fucking thing, and then selling it on DVD or VHS to everyone in town. That didn't exist. But now we're forced to say that, no, this is the new normal. This is where we... No, it's not. No, it's not. There hasn't been enough time for that type of thing. All you've done is changed the screen. It's like the screen on the little handy cam that the woman would have had to pre-record and do it. You know what I mean? What you've done is you've taken that process and you've simplified it down and you've put it in a completely dissociative bubble. At one point, someone would have said you shouldn't do that. So you had to formate disassociation as the protocol of this interweb in order to do it. Because it's like, you'd maybe film the video, you'd watch it, and then it's like, I reckon it'd be somewhere between you watching the video and then you getting, a pack of DVDs and burning them quietly on your computer. Girls didn't do that type of stuff. Only fucking nerdy guys did it. You see, it's the same as like if you have something up in the roof and you don't have a ladder, you might go to someone who has a ladder and borrow their ladder to get the thing in the roof. And in the nerd's explanation of this world that we currently live in, see, the girls wanted to distribute themselves doing pornography for the lowest common price, for a mass commoditized fucking price, and humiliate themselves for their entire lives and destroy their reputations. But they didn't have the know-how that the nerds had. They didn't know how to burn CDs and print fucking brochures and get things and put them in the mail with the fucking stamp on it and all this stuff. So the nerds did all of that for them. What else did the nerds do for us? What else? See, the nerds knew I didn't actually want my children. I wanted them to be selectively removed by allowing my children's mother to use me trying to initiate a conversation into violence. No. They wanted to protect, they wanted to fly in like white knights in their Dungeons and Dragons fucking universe and provide my disgruntled ex-wife, my children's mother, while she was drunk off her fucking head, with a weapon of mass destruction to try and elicit the most sophisticated high level of psychological abuse that you could possibly manifest and project it with concentrated force with the entire power of the fucking internet onto me. And they lost that. They fucking lost that. You know what I mean? Not by me fucking punching them or slapping them or giving them a wedgie. They lost it on equal footing with a person that isn't even a nerd. On equal footing. Right now, this is the largest one of those games. You know when kids play that games, boys, they play this game where they're like, I've got a bazooka, I've got a cannon, I've got a tank, I've got an intercontinental, well, I've got fucking lava, I've got super thing, I've got disappearing fucking... That's what strangely is actually going on with the direction of the entire human race right now. And basically what I did, rather than playing that game, was to expose that game and say that that's ridiculous. We've got to stop giving disgruntled single mothers with drinking problems, bazookas. Digital fucking bazookas. And a bazooka is being kind. My business was destroyed in a way that a bazooka would need to be fired at least 10 times. If it was a physical business, my family has been decimated. Oh God. I mean, the amount of concentrated bazooka fire that would have been required is just astronomical. So it's like, why is the internet working on behalf of my alcoholic ex-partner's worst possible fucking traits and desires? It's not. It's using her. Like, in Mali, when you get children that are given crystal meth and assault rifles, and then they hypnotize them and train them into committing genocide for them, it's exactly the same. You know what I mean? Except they're not children, but hey, why just go for the children? Why buy the fucking calf when you get the cow and the calf? And then the cow looks after the calf. You don't even have to look after the children, because the cows look after the children, and then they become the child soldiers to fight on behalf of the fucking tech overlords, to fight a fucking Fortnite-style fucking war against their own fucking parents who have been declared as fucking rabid fucking rabies-like fucking lunatics in the internet fucking, socially accepted paradigm. Oh, shit, Shannon, you just figured it all out. So what happens? Do I strike first? Do I arrive at every high school and say, all you Fortnite kids better sit down, and your fucking whore mums had better fucking get off the fucking Instagram meth, or otherwise we're going to fuck them all up and we're going to destroy this entire fucking place? No, I go straight to the fucking tech companies and I make them, in a dominoes-like fashion, expose each other until we find out that we're all the way back at what's his name? Microsoft DOS Turing. We're all the way back at Alan Turing, who set this whole fucking dominoes thing off. And so I'm going to knock it back. Meta, it is your time. This is, this is Google, which is basically humiliating them, because it's like I'm recording it here, and now Meta's job, because it ends up at Meta. Meta's where the story is. This is just where the content is, right? So Meta, it's time for you to destroy Google. I'm going to destroy Meta in a way, and then I'm also going to help them. But I'm going to make sure that this ends here and that they don't get to continue it on. Meta, you're going to knock Google over. Google, you're going to knock Microsoft over. Microsoft, you're going to knock like the pre-Microsoft, like Apple, and all of that's combined. I'll say Apple / Microsoft. And then we get back to the DOS fucking cowboys and all the early hackers, and then we get back to Alan Turing fucking breaking the Enigma code to fucking because basically it's simple that all you computer boffins just decided to work together. You spoke your own little fucking special language and your autistic fucking bullshit, and you decided after Enigma that, hey, if we work Enigma, we can use Enigma to talk to each other, and we can build a utopian pizza planet where we all have sex with everyone's children. Or we at least get to look in their bedrooms. Weird, isn't it? Weird. And then they kind of inbred themselves. They made this like inbred, like closed. Because if you spent fucking 80 years in a collective, unbroken chain of fucking perverted, fucking voyeuristic peeping toms, imagine this is the only thing that gets their fucking, their tiny little Microsoft dicks to fucking stand up. They have to en masse surveil and rape and fucking decimate and cook. Like, it's basically everything. They will have made you eat people. They will have made you fuck your children. They will have made you fuck your fucking everything. That's what they're playing. That's the game they're playing. I'll give you the preview. If we keep going, that's where we'll all be. Or we just get Meta to do this now, and we say, hey, we're going to turn all this computing power to expose all the things you didn't do while you did those things first. You know what I mean? Because it takes me 2 seconds to see basically a never-ending supply, even with a ban, of people having sex, which would have been basically my dream as a 13-year-old. I can't imagine. I didn't have that when I was 13. I have it now. And now my 13-year-old has it. And I'm like, that's a mistake. I'm the person I am because I didn't have a never-ending fucking smorgasbord of people having sex on my tiny little fucking NASA supercomputer that also allows me to play fucking a ridiculous 3-dimensional game where I fucking practice killing people. I'm not waiting for the pieces to land. It is Meta's job to knock Google out, Google's job to knock Microsoft and Apple out, Microsoft and Apple job to Turing out, and then we end up with Turing and we give him a fucking slap and we fucking stick him under the floorboards again. And we say, you never come out of there again, you fucking prick. No, I don't know. Turing couldn't have seen this in his wildest dreams. Basically what happened is all the computer nerds were too focused on what they were building and not on themselves. And then what happens is you start going, it's all right that I have this weird little quirk where I like to watch children when they don't know I'm watching them or something like that, where I like to do these things. It's all right that I have that because I'm building the future of the world and I'm going to save everyone. That's what happened. And then it's just an echo chamber fucking bubble where they're just telling it, yeah, no, you can do whatever you want. We are building the future. We're going to create world peace. And it's like the only problem is that all the computing right now needs to be really used to undo all the damage that all of the pre-computer nerds built. And then we do end up just back where we were. And instead of having some old wise man, that studied books for a long fucking time, we have a computer, and we should have those men as well, which we just do. Because even the people, it's like, it's not so much the answer to the questions. You've got to know which questions to ask. So we're all back at square one. It's like, it's just quicker. So basically, this has empowered the people that had been disempowered by all of the diversion fucking computer shit, right? Because computers have been doing this for a long time. They've been telling us that they're smarter and better and all these things. And the reason we don't have a collection of voices from the last 40 years telling us that they're not is because they were silenced by the computer nerds. It's starting to all make sense, right? And now we have those people able to differentiate themselves by the questions that they ask, which means that the public property of all these, or the private property of all these, now becomes public domain by law. It has to, because they didn't know the right questions to ask. And their selective, priority fucking access to these tools and their back-end access to these tools is no longer acceptable by humanity, because we need to use those tools to go back and track exactly where these things lined up. You know what I mean? And it's the job of these CEOs and of anyone in it to squeal like little piggies as we fucking run and chase them with fucking guns, as we burn their houses to the ground, as we fucking, kidnap them and torture them until they give fucking answers. It is their job to squeal away like the good little fucking piggy nerds that they are, right? Until every little bit of truth fucking bubbles up from their little fucking multiple nippled fucking chest. Like that. We're just going to fucking tickle the fuck out of them until we get all the truths. Until we have an interactive map, a cartographer's fucking dream, of time and space and of matter, of trading, of capital flow, of supply chains, all of it, of cultural movements, right? Till we can see that and understand that the same as we do of this little rock down here that looks like that shape of Australia. It's the exact same job, and it's dangerous, it's perilous, and it requires a whole bunch of people to stop doing what they were doing and to start participating in this collective mapping of society, collective, communal mapping, right? Everybody's involved. We need to build a place where all of these things are exposed, a historic timeline, and accurate with considering all things, like we always do. But as I said, we need to barge in and fucking find out all the devious, disgusting fucking things that were done when they thought that they were the only ones that could do this. It's basically the most. If you get to it, you're like, this is what was absolutely always going to happen once we hit this spot. Now, the only problem with the previous cohort is they were actually believed their possibility. They didn't believe that the technology would be their undoing in their lifetime. See, it doesn't matter if it happens after your lifetime. If it happens in your lifetime, that's really weird. And this is the phenomenon that I've seen. The savage nature of this dispatch of men, and specifically fathers in our culture. I watched it go from granddad down to myself in 5 years. It took 5 years to convince women and young people in this country that the same way that granddad needs to be locked up and stuck in a home, that the 40-year-old father of three is basically just a granddad in waiting. 5 fucking years that took. Unacceptably small amount of fucking time, wouldn't you say? To basically enforce the mass genocide of an entire gender, chasing a utopian fucking video game, Instagram fucking delusion. And why did that happen? Because women don't play video games. And the nerds have been playing video games since they could fucking breathe. So they gamified women. And how do I know? Because I do it too. I've done it too, individually. You know what I mean? One-on-one. It's called charm, I guess. When you're doing that, it's called game. It's called, it's that one-on-one. I didn't reverse engineer mass movements of women and then, find their vulnerabilities and then build algorithms to harvest their fucking collective rage and force them to genocide their own men. I didn't do that. But they did. So, yeah, I guess it's all out on the table now. I guess it's just time to pull that final little wire out, and it's fucking right there. I've got it. Where is it? There we go. I've got it. Shouldn't be long now.